Greetings, Iain from RTO here. Welcome to another pick and mix. Well, we do pick and mix it up a little bit, and this week we are mixing it up, which means we're going to be looking at a record producer. And this one is actually a request from my mate Gary. And he says, why don't you do Nile Rodgers? So I went, yep, that is an absolute belter of one to do. Because this man is an incredible musician, songwriter, producer. So Nile Gregory Rodgers Jr. was born in 1952. As I said, producer, musician, composer, and the co-founder of the band Chic, which he had a great success with. And I think he's one of the best funk guitar players that you'll ever come across. I love his style of playing. It's so distinctive. Now here's some facts about him. Nile has written, produced and performed on records that have sold more than 5 million albums, 75 million singles worldwide. He is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and Songwriters Hall of Fame. A recipient of 6 Grammy Awards, including a Lifetime Achievement, Special and Merit Award. He's performed with lots of people. Now, we're just going to concentrate on his album, because people say, oh, he's done the reproduce this single. I will do at some stage a retro ranking on Nile Rodgers singles, because I think he deserves it. So today we're just going to look at the albums that he's produced and wrote songs on and played on. So here we go. So in 1978, I think this is one of the first, probably the first one, he produced an album called Norma Jean Wright for Norma Jean. But he didn't just produce it, he plays guitar and background vocals, and he wrote a song on it called Saturday. 1979, big album that he produced, and it was for Sister Sledge and We Are Family. He wrote all the songs on this with fellow band member from Chic, Bernard Edwards. The famous tracks on here, though, of course, are Lost in Music and We Are Family, and he also played on it as well. 1980, he wrote all the songs with Bernard on Sheila B. Devotion's 1980 album King of the World. He also played guitar on it. Then in 1980 again, he wrote songs with Bernard and played guitar on Sister Sledge's Love Somebody Today. Busy year for him. He then produced Diana Ross's album Diana. Him and Bernard wrote all the songs again, and this has got Upside Down on it and My Old Piano. You forget how many of these songs that Nile wrote. Then in 1981, he worked with Johnny Mathis, but the album wasn't released until 2017, and it's called I Love My Lady. Wrote all the tracks with Bernard again. 1981, worked with Debbie Harry on a solo album, KooKoo. Talk about that a bit later. 1983, David Bowie's Let's Dance. Also in 1983 we had Talkback by Spoons. Don't know much about them. I had a quick listen, it's nothing special. 1984, he worked with Madonna on Like a Virgin, and he plays guitars, synthesizers, and he with the Material Girl and Like a Virgin. 1985, he worked with the brilliant Beck on Flash. It's okay album. 1985, we did him last week, Mick Jagger, She's the Boss, his first solo album. Played on that as well. 1985, worked with the Thompson twins. Tracks off there, of course. One of the most famous ones are Don't Mess with Dr. Dream and Lay Your Hands on Me. Also in 1985, he worked with Sheena Easton on the album Do You. Played guitars, keyboards and bass. Wrote Magic of Love and Money Back Guaranteed. 1986, he went and worked with Duran on Notorious. Of course, Notorious and Skin Trade. 1986 as well, worked with Grace Jones. Well, someone had to. On the Inside Story. Big hit off there, of course, is I'm Not Perfect. Then in brackets, but I'm perfect for you. 1989, works with the B-52s on their Cosmic Thing album, which of course has produced the singles Cosmic Thing and Love Shack, classic song from the 80s. Also went back and worked with Diana Ross again on the Working Overtime album, single Working Overtime, This House, and he co-wrote We Stand Together, Paradise, Keep on Dancing, and What Can One Person Do. And then he went and worked with Stevie Ray Vaughan and his brother, the Vaughan brothers, in 1990, Family Style, which is a good album. Then he went and did another album with the B-52s in 1992 on Good Stuff and the song Tell It Like It Is, T.T.I's. Then he went back and did another album with Mr. Bowie in 1993, Black Tie and White Noise, plays guitars on it, and co-wrote Looking for Lester, the instrumental. 1994, he went and worked with David Lee Roth on the Your Filthy Little Mouth. Not one of my particular favourite albums by DLR, sorry. But he was the producer. But there have also, as I mentioned at the top of the show, he was, from 1994 onwards, he produced songs on albums and doing other stuff. So they're the main albums he done. So my top 5 albums done by Nile Rodgers. So number 5 for me is the one from 1985, from Jeff Beck, Flash. Some interesting people on here. Rod Stewart does lead vocals on one track. Jan Hammer plays one drum, one track on the Fairlight, and Carmen Apiece does some drums. Some good tracks on this, Ambitious, typical Jeff Beck sort of groove. Then we get Let Us All in the End, Escape, which he did with Yam Hanama. People Get Ready, which is a Curtis Mayfield song that Rod sings pretty good. Nice seeing Rod working with Jeff again. Stop, Look and Listen, Get Working, Ecstasy, Night After Night, which is written by Nile, as like Get Working is. You Know We Know. I wouldn't say it's one of my favourite Jeff Beck albums, but it's well produced and you can tell it's got that Nile Rodgers feel to it. Okay, number 4 for me is the debut album from Debbie Harry, KooKoo. It's got Chris Stein on it as well, so it's a mixture of sort of Blondie sounding and Chic sounding, if you can say, because Bernard Edwards is also working on this one. So the first track is Jump Jump, which is a Debbie Harry, pristine track, really good track. The Jam Was Moving, which was a song that Bernard and Nile wrote, pretty good. Chrome, I love this track, one of my favourite tracks on the album. Love the guitar work on that one. Surrender. Now this is a typical sort of chic track that Debbie sings. It's fantastic, it's quite funky, I quite like that. Inner City Spillover. Then we get Backfired, which Nile wrote. Love Debbie's vocal on this. Pretty good. And then it's I Know You Know, another Nile Edwards song. Under Arrest, another song that's Nile was written. Well, Bernard, Debbie, Nile and Chris wrote that. Military Rap, quite a funky track. And Oasis. Some interesting stuff on this album. Well produced again. He is a fantastic producer. Number 3 for me is Your Filthy Little Mouth. Although this is not my favourite David Lee Roth album, it is well produced. So it's David Lee Roth, Terry Gilmore on guitar, Joan Regan bass, Tony Baer drums, Larry Albin on drums and Ray Brinker. She's My Machine. It's a good little track, one of the better tracks on here. Then Everybody's Got the Monkey. Some nice riffs on this. But David's voice was a bit croggy on that. Big Train, it's alright. Experience, yeah, it's a bit dreary. A Little Luck, one of my favourite tracks on this album. Cheating Heart, again, it's okay. Hey You Never Know, a bit non-memorable. No Big Ting, not very good. You're Breathing. Your Filthy Mouth, it's alright. Land's End, Nightlife, Sunburn, You're Breathing It. There are some good tracks on here. Some of them are not very memorable, but when I looked at it as just a well-produced album, even though the track's a bit naff. Number 2 for me is Family Style, which features Stevie Ray Vaughan on guitars and vocals by Jimmy Ray Vaughan. This was released in 1990. Great album. I'm going to do a proper review of it at some stage, so I won't go into too much detail, but I just like it. Hard to Be is a great little number. White Boots is on here. Good Texan, my favourite track on the album. Hillbillies from Outer Space is quite a lot of fun. Long Way From Home. Some great work by Stevie Ray Vaughan on that. Tick Tock, Telephone Song. Babu Mama Said. Great stuff. And Brothers. This is a real little gem. I'll go into it because I'm going to feature it in the one-off album review at some stage. Also, it's a bit blues funk. It's well produced again. But my favourite album that Nile Edwards? Who's Nile Edwards? Nile Rodgers produced. 15th album by David Bowie, Let's Dance, released in 83. Again, I am not going to go into too much detail about this album because we have got David Bowie full album ranking coming up. But Nile Rodgers plays on this. Stevie Ray Vaughan actually plays on this. And Bernard Edwards as well. So you've got a right in groovy people on this. This album for sure features Ricochet, Criminal World, Cat People, Shake It, Modern Love, China Girl, Let's Dance. So yeah, it's definitely my favourite Nile produced album. And this is sort of an album that, what I'll say about this, it revitalised David's career, I think, in the 80s. So there we go. Nile Rodgers. Fantastic bloke. I mean, I'm not into the funky stuff, but I do like when you can hear him play his guitar, especially on Freak Out. I love his tones on that. Okay, next week we go back to I Wander Down Memory Lane. But that's all of today's shows. Don't forget tonight, 8 PM, live stream, and you can join in now. I will put out the link so you can join in and come and join us like 2 people did last week. Got all the usual features. I don't know if Mastermind Dave will be about tonight. I know he's doing very well. I'll give you a bit of an update next week, or he might give you an update himself. So if not, I'll be back tomorrow, and tomorrow of course it's St. Patrick's Day, so tomorrow's got a bit of an Irish theme. So first up tomorrow I'll be ranking the albums of The Cause, and then we've got a one-off album review, and it's an album called White Feather from a gentleman called Cormac Neeson. Now the reason we're doing that, because his band The Answer released their first album in an age tomorrow called The Sundowners, which we will be reviewing the following Friday. So lots to look forward to. If I don't see you tonight, I will see you tomorrow. Bye for now.